Hokey religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side.
While considered inelegant and
so uncivilized
by the Jedi, the weapon of choice for most within the Star Wars universe is the trusty blaster. But did you know that they might actually be possible using the laws of physics and might look a bit like this? Firstly, let's get something straight. Blasters cannot be lasers. Why? Well, the only reason you can see a laser beam is because all of that light is being scattered off of something, be that gas, dust, or water vapor in the air. In Star Wars, blasters are clearly visible and very bright, meaning a lot of scattering is going on. And yet we've seen the equivalent of blasters in the near vacuum of space, a place where laser beams should be invisible unless they're directed right at your eye. The other reason why blaster bolts can't be lasers is because we can actually see them moving through the air. Now, packets of light have to travel at the speed of light. That's the cosmic speed limit though, which would mean you wouldn't be able to see a laser beam coming towards you. And yet we see them in Star Wars all the time. Don't worry though, there is a solution, and just like with lightsabers, the answer lies in plasmas. And this is actually backed up by Wikipedia. In case you're not familiar, plasma is a state of matter, a bit like a gas, except they're typically so hot that instead of neutral atoms or molecules, you have charged particles, which are free to flow. This means that they affect and are affected by electric and magnetic fields, which makes their behaviour quite complicated. I've done plenty of other videos on my channel on the subject, so do check those out. A blaster bolt, therefore, would just be a blob of plasma, a bit like a lightsaber flying through the air. Though we plasma physicists prefer a slightly more technical term of plasmoids. These are coherent masses of plasma and magnetic fields. And they've been observed all over the place. For instance, in Earth's magnetosphere, the act of reconnection within the tail not only accelerates electrons causing the aurora, it also ejects a huge amount of plasma away from the Earth as a plasmoid. And we can even make plasmoids by running a high voltage through, say, some water. The currents flowing will both vaporize and ionize some of it. The glowing plasma then, because of its heat, will rise, forming a sort of mushroom cloud and then expand and dissipate in the air. This all happens within about half a second or 3 blinks of an eye. That's all very well and good, but blaster bolts would need to be a little more stable than that, maintaining their size and shape as they fly through the air. Now, for lightsabers, the way I proposed to do that was to use magnetic fields in a similar way that we do for certain types of nuclear fusion reactors called tokamaks. They use very powerful external magnets to keep the plasma away from the reactor walls. However, for a blaster bolt, we don't have the luxury of being able to plug in a power supply to create an external magnetic field. The plasma is literally flying through the air. But instead, we can utilize the fact that plasmas are excellent conductors of electricity. If we can set up currents within the plasmoid itself, this will in turn generate a magnetic field which can confine that plasma. This isn't science fiction, this is science fact. These sorts of arrangements are called Spheromaks. And just like a tokamak, they have a sort of donut-like shape. For instance, Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory has the Sustained Spheromak Plasma Experiment, or SSPX. It can maintain confinement times up to 100 milliseconds, which, when you're talking about laboratory plasmas where long-lasting phenomena are the order of nanoseconds, that's pretty damn good. So how would a blaster create a Spheromak projectile? Well, it'd use a plasma railgun. Yes, that's actually a thing. They operate on a similar principle to ordinary railguns. That's where you've got a conductor along rails which are passing through an electrical current. Put that setup in an external magnetic field, accelerates the projectile along the track. In the plasma railgun, it's a solenoid that generates the external magnetic field. And you have cylindrical high voltage electrodes which are used to ionize gas. Currents which are induced within the plasma force it outwards away from the solenoid, forming a nice stable Spheromak. And they also project it along the cylinder. Speeds of up to 200 kilometers per second have been achieved using such methods. That's hundreds of times faster than the fastest rifle rounds. So you really need Jedi reflexes to dodge that. Oh, and at those speeds, the impact would surely knock you off your feet.
I like this thing.
In fact, such things have been researched as real-life weapons. From the 70s onwards, Shiva Star was looking into plasma bullets to take down incoming warheads. The idea being that the electrical currents in the plasma might disrupt the warhead's electronics. So something of a real-life ion cannon. These tests, however, were abandoned in the 90s. Well, as far as we know. If you wanted these Spheromak railgun blasters to work just like in Star Wars, though, you're not going to use the electrical currents, but their temperature to do damage. Now, SSPX plasmas had temperatures up to 6 million degrees C. That's 1,000 times hotter than the glowing hot surface of the sun. So with enough mass, that's certainly going to do some damage. Oh, and of course, because Spheromaks are magnetically confined plasmas, they're going to run into exactly the same problems as lightsabers when they encounter another plasma source, that of magnetic reconnection. If a blaster bolt came in contact with, say, a lightsaber, rather than the blade deflecting it, it's going to cause both plasmas to explode. But unlike in the case of a lightsaber duel, when you're using a blaster, you are far away from your target, nice and safe. So what you've just done is dealt a deadly blow to your Jedi or Sith antagonist. So really, Hatton was absolutely right. Blasters are by far the most deadly weapon within the Star Wars universe. From a certain point of view.
A certain point of view?
Well, a physics point of view. Thanks so much for watching all of this video. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, I'd really appreciate you giving a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel to get the latest stuff. And write a load of comments down below. Do you agree with my theories on how Star Wars blasters actually work? Got any others? Back them up with evidence and let me know.